Hello and welcome to another episode of Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman. My name is Fagbeja and today I'll be reading Bella's story. I had a 37-year career in the banking industry. I thoroughly enjoyed my job and was practically married to it. I actually got married about 4 years after I started working, but my marriage didn't work out and we got divorced after 3 years. That's a story for another day. I left the marriage with a daughter. My cousin came to live with me, and between her and my mom, they helped with raising my daughter while I threw myself mercilessly into my job. And my hard work and dedication paid off because I rose quickly through the ranks, especially as the focus on bringing women into management increased. I was always available and fit to fill the female quota when positions came up. Of course, there were all sorts of rumors about me and my ascension. I heard them, but I didn't care because I knew what I had put in. I didn't have a social life or any time for relationships. All my friends and acquaintances were people I met on the job. I had nothing outside my job except the money I had made. Even my relationship with my daughter was sacrificed. She was closer to my cousin than me. I made sure we took annual vacations, but that was the most time we spent together, even though she went to the best schools and did not lack anything. As I got into my mid-40s, I was still very busy and had risen to the position of executive director. But I had a bit more control over my time and I started to feel the need for deeper relationships. I really wasn't interested in getting married again, but I definitely wanted a man in my life. That was when Ted came in. He was one of our biggest clients in the bank and ran a multi-billion naira construction business. I had known him for years and we were friendly because of his interaction with us. But now our friendship started to get deeper. I knew that he was married, but his wife lived in the US and they didn't have any children between them. I got to know that they were having some issues because his wife had insisted on returning to the US where she had been living before they got married. According to him, they had tried to make things work, but they couldn't find a compromise, and so she lived abroad and he lived in Nigeria. They each visited from time to time. I didn't have a problem dating him because he fit into my needs. I didn't want the commitment of marriage, just the companionship. This worked very well as I was able to maintain my independence. He was 11 years older than I was. About 2 years into our relationship, I got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but he was elated about it since he didn't have any children. I was happy to be a mom again. My daughter was now in the university, and having another child didn't seem like a bad idea. It turned out to be a boy, which excited Ted even more. He was Igbo. He doted over me and paid so much attention to me in the months after the birth of our son. He wanted us to live together, but I refused. He spent so much time with us and even cancelled his trips to the US several times. From the time our son was 2 years old, Ted and I took annual vacation trips together with our son. When he was 7, we had planned a trip, but work came up at the last minute, so I couldn't go. Ted asked that he and Kenechukwu go as planned, and we could take another trip together later. I thought it would be a great opportunity for them to bond, so they went. I did not know that it was the last time I would see my son. Ted never brought him back. After they left, I couldn't reach him on any of his numbers, which he was supposed to be roaming. I got frantic when I couldn't reach them after a few days. It was almost 2 weeks later when I eventually reached Ted through one of his friends. He would not allow me speak to Kenechukwu and said we would talk when he returned. I almost lost my mind in that period, and that was how the fight for my son began. I tried all I could, but the legal battles were slow and not yielding much result. I was able to find out about 6 months after they left that Ted had put Kenechukwu with his wife in the US, but I could not get access to him despite all my efforts. I traveled to the US a few times before Ted's wife filed a petition against me at the embassy and my visa applications were refused. My lawyers wrote to the embassy several times, but we did not get any responses. I even hired an American lawyer to work from the inside. I resigned from work about 2 years into the matter so that I could channel my energy towards finding my son. But 7 years passed before I was able to speak to Kenechukwu again. When I finally got to speak with him, he was hostile. He told me he did not know me and that the only mom he knew was his mom in America. He said I had abandoned him and that was why his dad took him and brought him to live with his mom, who loved him and would never do that to him. They had poisoned his mind with lies. I was crushed, but determined to keep trying. 11 years later, I am still barred from entering the US. Kenechukwu speaks with me, but our relationship is strained. He refused to come to Nigeria or meet me anywhere else. I have tried to give him my own version of events, but he doesn't believe me entirely and thinks I am trying to make excuses for my failures. I realized sometime into this fight that this was Ted and his wife's game all along. They had it all planned out, and I was the victim of their evil vices. All I want is for my son to know the truth, but I am at a loss as to how to make him see it. What words do you have for Bella? Please share in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any story when I post.